Skylanders. The game, which was quite possibly the most well-known game across children in the first half of the 2010s, with its first entry in the series, Spyro's Adventure, causing both the screams of children asking for the toys and the screams of parents who have to remortgage their homes to finance their children's addictions to these little plastic playthings. Now, when you buy Skylanders games, you get a few things, which are the portal, the game, obviously, and some figures. In Trap Team's case, you get Snapshot and Food Fight, who are absolutely terrible, as well as the life and water traps, which are also some of the worst traps in the game, as they offer the least powerful villains. So, naturally, I began to ask myself the question of whether or not I could beat the game on hard mode without being a scummy little pay-to-winner in this very pay-to-win game. Wish me good luck. Alright, quick intro to the game. Doom Raiders break out of prison. Skylanders stop them. Skylanders get sent to your world for some reason. I don't really know. I wasn't really paying that much attention. And finally, we can actually play something. In this first part, we basically just run around getting taught how to shoot, open things, push things, basic tutorial shenanigans. And then we meet a Nazi sheep? I can't say I remember that from this game, to be perfectly honest. But regardless, he fell. And we get to see one of the coolest things about this game, for me at least, that you can play as the villains. So look, this fascist farm stock is now under my control. Some may call it slavery. They're right. We then came to yet another one of the pay-to-win things in this game. It isn't that you can do everything in the game and buying new characters simply makes it easier. No. There are special areas that you can only access if you have a Trapmaster, also known as the more expensive and powerful Skylanders of that specific element. And in these areas you can get hats that make you stronger, so big rip there, I guess. We do get the water one for free though. After a while, we get to meet Nikocado Avocado, chugging on some soda.
I'm having a nervous breakdown. I'm literally having a nervous... Look, I can't, I have no more neck. Oh!
And he's the only boss in the game who you don't actually fight. You just feed him some healthy food, and he crumples and loses £3,000. Next up comes the level which no one remembers, ironically named Know-It-All Island, where all that happens is that I find a soul gem for Food Fight and bomb a tank. Also, soul gems allow you to buy special upgrades for your character. This one lets you just roll on a tomato. Hey guys! So, you want to know something fun while nothing else has been going on? So, see these little stars at the end of the level here? Well, the first one you get for just doing the level, but the second and third one you are forced to pay for. With the second one, you have to unlock all the Trapmaster gates, and you can't unlock all of them with just the starter pack. And then the third one makes you discover all the areas, with some of those areas being the trap gates. What? I was just looking back at this. This is ridiculous. Moving on, we get to one of the most memorable levels in Chompy Mountain, where we got to do Sheep Creeps quest, which granted I already did on my 360, hence why mine is a sheep of colour, but whatever, it's fun. So I played Angry Birds again, and hey, very good. We then ran around and did what children-friendly games do best. Kidnapping people and forcing them into labour camps to build bridges for us. Nice and wholesome. We then get to our first brush with the second Doom Raider, Chompy Mage, who drives a massive Luftwaffe-style Zeppelin with huge cannons on it. But we then pop some caps in him with some cannons of our own, and then he flies away when a fire gets put on it, rather than what would actually happen. Oh, and we also used the villain's invulnerability, just completely abused it to kill Bruiser Cruiser. After Buzz says the funny gamer word from 2015...
You better head over there, Skylander. Quick style. Don't want those noobs wandering around inside without you.
We found out that all the Mabu were in fact noobs and have been kidnapped, so I had to go rescue them. And then during this time I found two things. One was this guy made out of broccoli, called Broccoli Guy, who only heals people and is pretty terrible. So naturally I equipped him. And 2, the Mabus walk like Nikocado Avocado. You will never see them the same way again. Next up was the actual fight with Chompy Mage. And this guy was surprisingly difficult actually. Despite only being on level 3, my food fight was pretty close to dying at one point. But while I initially only equipped Broccoli Guy as a bit of a joke, he absolutely dominated Chompy Mage. Like, I just want to show you this little clip here of how quickly his health went down. And naturally, Chompy Mage was then captured, and Broccoli Guy was tossed out like a used condom. Also, in between this level and the next, and between the next and the one after the next, I tried out the Chaos Doom Challenge, where you have to build towers and shoot people to stop enemies opening this box, and if they do, then a massive enemy spawns in. I'm well aware that I explained that in the worst way possible, but I hope you got the point. Anyway, after Chompy Mountain, we turned Food Fight into a Reddit mod, and then we went to Phoenix Sanctuary. Oh, Jesus Christ. My English teacher would not be too pleased about that use of alliteration. Honestly, not all that much happened here, so I'm just going to give you the cliff notes. We got some nuts, fed them to birds, grew some bridges, got Snapshot's soul gem, found the guy with a bopping villain theme, but only does 18 damage. And we kidnapped a bird who can do like over 1000 damage. So it seemed that here you only deal in absolutes. We then launched a bombing campaign on the residence of Chef Zeppelin, no doubt killing and maiming thousands. And then I ran around what I thought looked like Disneyland for some reason. Leave me alone, I was tired. I mean, to be fair, this level is still really cool. The best way I can describe this is imagine a mentally deranged chef running a literal hell on earth, where his employees are forced to do nothing but cook for the whole day. Oh, where...
Fuck me! How about fuck you?
Also, it's here that we get to play one of the best card games ever made, and was even nominated for a World Peace Prize, as everyone was too damn busy playing this game to go to war. That's right, baby, it's Skystone Smash! And the best way I can describe this, imagine Magic the Gathering games, right? But instead of a player base of the involuntarily celibate, it's the player base who has an IQ of at least double them. We then got to fighting Mr. Ramsey, whose theme absolutely is just amazing. I forgot how good this game's music was. And this boss fight has everything. Fire, lasers, steaks, molten floors, and the red hot chili peppers. And while I didn't take all too much damage, it was still super stressful. We now hit a
Triple kill
on the Doom Raiders, so safe to say, they were probably terrified. And so we decided to play the Far Harbor DLC from Fallout 4 to give them a bit of a chance. So, in case it wasn't obvious, I haven't exactly been paying all that much attention to the plot of this game, so sorry. Alex Ness. And we basically ran around playing lots more Skystone Smash, sparking up pirates, playing with cranes, and building bridges. I don't even know what you want me to say. This level isn't even mentioned at all on the plot synopsis on the wiki, which is depressingly well detailed, and I wish to God that these people had a life. But then again, I'm also the one reading the plot summary on the wiki and playing Skylanders. You know what, I guess we both need to get a life. We then get to this town where literally everything is horrible, which apparently isn't called Blaken, and instead it's called Monster Marsh, where the water is all gross and monsters are literally everywhere, but hey, it's okay. Why? Because we get to meet everyone's dream. Goth girls. Also, I went off the beaten path here because I suspected some secret goodies at play, but I did not expect to get attacked by this bloody monstrosity. And also, this bug happened where it just kinda zoomed out and made me watch my Skylander get wailed on. Now, my theory is that in this one specific point, in this one specific time, if you switch Skylanders while watching the cutscene, then it does this. I was literally just about to restart my Xbox, but it turned out well enough, which is good because in this game, you can't save mid-level, so I would have had to do it all over again. Oh, and also, thank the Lord for Brawl and Chain. I would have been absolutely squashed on these levels, because these elephant things mess with my brain. But I-5 also is an absolute menace to society, dealing a whopping 81 damage per hit. And it's around this point where I can't just turn my brain off and spam X on the villains anymore, because we are very nearly running out of time on Brawl and Chain. Therefore, heaven forbid, I might actually have to use brain cells at some point. We then get to meet my first childhood crush. I wish I was joking. Dreamcatcher. I mean, how can you blame me? She's got that dummy mommy energy, braces, and best of all, rotten teeth. Oh, and she lived in a literal crack-fueled nightmare. Speaking of nightmare, we go into this weirdo's dream with Brawl and Chain, and run around for far too long with these lamps on my head, looking for houses, which was incredibly boring. But hey, we did it. What did we gain? Nothing. Literally nothing. I should have skipped this. I could have skipped this, but I didn't. Also, I feel like now is the right time to say that from the pirate level to here is probably the best portion of the game, because there's so much like uniqueness and stuff. You know, jack-in-the-boxes, people with annoying voices, and not to mention the awesome themes. It's just as the video essay people would put it, painfully underrated. I then fought Hoodsickle in a way which embarrassed even myself during recording, as I just could not dodge this guy, and if it wasn't for MVP Brawl and Chain, we would have been dead right there. But this guy, who is in no way, shape or form difficult, it's just 1, 2, and then he swings, and then you can hit him. But due to the fact that my brain is so incredibly smooth, I just ended up having to tank it. We then move on to Painata, whose music sounds like way better Tropico music than actual Tropico music. Like, good lord, this is great. Only to be followed by the Dreamcatcher fight. Now this fight actually has really nice design, because you can't really attack her head on, at least not straight away. You have to break her beds first, and then you shoot her, while she's destroying the floor you walk on and making distractions, which would have been cool, until you realise that all of these are super easy to dodge, simply by switching to a villain, and due to her tiny health pool, you can kill her stupidly quickly. Although I did get stuck in the floor at one point, which, you know, bit of a cheap shot Dreamcatcher, but I'll let it slide. Now, I was, somewhat understandably, feeling rather fatigued after what was at this point 4 hours and 30 minutes straight of nothing but Skylanders. So I decided to play this rhythm game, because apparently Skylanders wasn't only interested in making the best card game, they wanted to beat the best rhythm game as well. Holy hell, Skylanders, I'm getting pretty scared right now. So, the best way I can think to describe this is that you get a room of people with the world's worst stutters, tell them all to try to recite Rap God, and then get ranked depending on how much torture you put them through. Although the only possible way to actually get the medal on these, to prove that you actually did it, is to just spam all the buttons, regardless of how well you did elsewhere on the minigame. And it's hard as hell, but I managed to finish this when I was younger, so thankfully my completionist monkey brain didn't kick in, or I genuinely do think that the playtime would have doubled. Next up, we team up with the Mabu Defense Force and start shelling a bunch of wooden people. Why? Hell if I know. But once we got off, we killed Shield Shredder, and this is the very last time that the life trap will ever be useful, only halfway through the game. So as you can see, they're really trying damn hard to make you buy other traps. Unless you want to count the Chompy who's in the DLC level, which, no. That said though, Shield Shredder is actually pretty decent for these general areas. Not quite as good against bosses because his range isn't great, but still, best of a bad bunch. Oh, and also, in the fight against Krankcase, Food Fight got backhanded for the first time. So, not great, and Snapshot very nearly died too. Safe to say, after this my morale was not as high as it was previous, as if we nearly died on only Chapter 9, then would this run even be remotely fun? So, with my head held low, we went to the sewers, where the only thing more common than chompies is STDs. Oh, and we also fought this one boss which was truly depressing. It was just me running around taking pot shots at a grandmother. Safe to say this wasn't one of those boss fights which made me feel good after winning. More like I just ran into an old people's home and started kicking everyone. We then got Snapshot an absolutely dashing hat, and then fought this boss who seemed like a massive Kuma. Because of his, how do I put this? Muscle proportions. We also mauled Scrap Shooter, who has no business being in the fire element. Like, Tech Element is obviously a better fit, come on. He doesn't even breathe fire, and if he did, he would catch fire. I understand that Skylanders isn't the most known for its physics, or chemistry, or whatever it is, but still, he does have a great theme. I won't play it because I've been doing that a lot, but like, you should play it. So, Dr. Krankcase is supposed to be a genius, right? You know, he builds all this stuff, he's clearly kind of smart, but the question I have for him is, why does he always build his trains so that most of his soldiers are killed by the trains and not by me? Absolute melon.
What did I have to do with it? So that's it, fuck it. You gotta come make a bust it, cause I got more shots to pop ya, big papa, breaking your own.
Also, something significant actually happened while I was inside, in that I had finally purchased all upgrades for Snapshot, meaning that both of my Skylanders were now fully upgraded, so they won't be getting any more powerful, safer hats which apply such minuscule differences they're barely worth noting. This means that now, besides hats and villains, that this is the best it will ever be, and it's already getting tough. On another good note, I found the Soul Gem of Head Rush. Why should we care? Well, it's because me and my friend had debated for a long time that this one would be the worst one to poo out. Why I thought this was a necessary addition to the video, I can't say. But if I left it out, I genuinely don't think I could live with myself. Next up was the actual Dr. Krankcase battle, which is probably one of, if not the, best fight in the game, because you have to jump at just the right time in order to dodge him, and if you can't, this is hard mode, so he does quite the chunk of damage. This is made even harder by the fact that in the second stage, most of the floor turns into a conveyor belt, which pulls you towards some saws, and he spawns in big boys, so you have to go right next to the saws, which do up to 100 damage per tick, jump out at the very last second, and make him take the damage instead. Chances are that if you would have fallen in, we would have instantly died, but we just about killed him. Flynn later does
a little play on words,
and we're off to Time Town to try and take Wolfgang down. And it's around here when I started to realise how these tiny little stilts of Skylanders were looking more and more flimsy, as I was starting to have to switch to villains for even the quote-unquote low-level monsters, unless I wanted it to take eons. We then trapped Crosscrow, who is disappointing as hell. Like, you have to stop moving to shoot people, you can't even shoot in threes like the actual enemy, his B ability is so god-awful that you will never use it besides for experimentation. But hey, I couldn't be bothered going to the villain vault to get another one, so he stayed for a bit. But after we did one of, if not the most pointless puzzles in the whole game, we see that Wolfgang has already gone to the future, so not great. But hey, it seems like Cyberpunk came early, because we get to go to the future. And it is actually a bit depressing that this game's future is less buggy and more immersive than Cyberpunk's. And this game was made in 2014. Oh, and also, this level is one of the best in the whole game, in case my bias wasn't obvious enough. There are even flying segments for no goddamn reason, but I adore it. Now, next up was one of my great humiliations, Wolfgang. Now, to be fair, I did have really low health on my snapshot beforehand, but still, it hurt my pride quite a bit. Because he moves around so much, and the fight goes 2D at one point, you can't dodge a lot of the time, so you need to switch to your villain. Oh, and he shoots lasers, which you need to have absolutely perfect timing for. Like seriously, look at this! And then, lasers and Wolfgang get put out at the same damn time. But still, a death is a death, and we had to fight him again. And I very nearly died the second time. But hey ho, we got him, boys. Now, we have only one Doom Raider to set our crosshairs on. That's right, the Golden Queen. But first, looks like the Skylanders have turned 19, and they're getting drafted off to Vietnam today. And we have this weird mini war level, which I completely forgot about, but I absolutely love. You get to build like tanks and heal Mabu, and it's crazy. Also, with the capture of Threat Pack, this is now the most powerful we will ever be, full stop. Because Threat Pack is the last trappable villain for us. Next up was Birdland 2 Electric Boogaloo, where barely anything happened, to be honest. Besides this frustrating as hell parkour section, and the fact that the bird called Hawkmungus changes his name to Taekwon Crow. Presumably after sexually harassing someone.
Is that sexual harassment?
No, it's humongous.
Then
This is it, lads. We're on the Golden Queen's home turf. And it's around here where the doubts about whether or not this was hard mode ended. Because the hits from just these little general mob guys did a full 271 damage, which is absolutely bonkers. And amidst the constant chompy worm attacks and the threat of getting waffle stomped by even the smallest of enemies, I was actually starting to feel pretty confident. Because it didn't feel all that stressful at the moment, so I started to think that I had a decent shot. Oh, and also Callie got turned into gold. Anyone remember her? Yeah, me neither. Now, look. I know what you all want to see, so let's get right to it. Golden Queen boss fight, let's go! First off, she spawns in loads of rings, which I can't say are easy to dodge, but they're not impossible either. Next up is these flying sawblade thingies, who are way harder to dodge, but you get food after you kill them, so it's alright I suppose. And if it wasn't for Threat Pack, then we definitely would have died hundreds of times over, because his auto-aim means I can focus on dodging, instead of like turning round, shooting, then turning round again. Next up, she becomes the star of many a degenerate DeviantArt account, and gets huge, and starts chasing you. Now my spruce brain didn't realise you were actually supposed to shoot the barrier, so despite not losing a single Skylander in the whole fight, I lost one at the end due to my own stupidity. Thankfully though, after rubbing my last brain cell against the walls of my skull, we won. Woohoo! We did it! Yeah! We beat the game and nothing will ever go wrong in Skylands again. Crops flourished, the Mabuian peso became the strongest currency in the world and... Wait. What?
Oh shit, here we go again.
Turns out that Kaos decided to stab us all in the back. Who could have seen that one coming? And so we had to go and stop him. So I marched up to his door, slapped him in the face after he told a G.I. Jane joke, and the fight began. The plan was to start off with Food Fight, because his attacks have a limited range, and so it would be harder and harder to land shots on Kaos as his attacks grew more and more chaotic and forced me all around the arena. And we were initially not doing so badly. In fact, we actually made it to the third phase before any real issues cropped up. But just to show you how punishing this fight truly is, Planty Boy went from full health to 0 health in less than 10 seconds. But in case you need more convincing of how nutty this fight is, here's some of the rest of it. Thank God. It seems like it's all over. No other special levels you guys got hanging out there? No? The credits are rolling. Okay. And it seems like the horrors of slogging through this with only the starter pack on the hardest difficulty are finally done. Oh, for God's sake!